The coffee had gone cold hours ago, but Dr. Amanda Torres hadn't noticed. She stared at her computer screen, watching numbers change in ways that made no sense. The deep space sensors at Station Alpha were picking up something new. Something big. "Jake, you need to see this," she called across the control room. Captain Jake Morrison walked over, his boots clicking on the metal floor. He had been in command of the station for 3 years, and nothing had ever made Amanda's voice sound so worried before. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked, squinting at the screen full of data. "Ships? Maybe. But not like any ships we've ever seen." Amanda pulled up a visual display. "They're coming from outside our galaxy, way outside." Jake felt his stomach drop. "How big?" "Each one is the size of a small moon, and there are 20 of them." "That's impossible," Jake said. "Nothing that big could travel between galaxies. It would take millions of years." Amanda turned in her chair to face him. "I know, but they're there and they're moving fast. Too fast." She pointed at the screen. "Look at this speed reading." Jake looked. The numbers were crazy. These things were moving at speeds that should tear them apart. "Are the sensors broken?" "I checked them twice. Everything's working fine." Amanda took a deep breath. "Jake, there's something else. They're not made of metal." "What do you mean?" "They're organic, living things. But they also have technology all through them. It's like someone built a spaceship out of a giant creature." Jake grabbed the nearest communication device. "This is Station Alpha. Priority alert to Earth Command. We have unknown vessels approaching Sol System. Repeat, we have unknown vessels approaching Sol System." The response came quickly. "Station Alpha, confirm your report. How many vessels?" 20 confirmed. Size class. Jake looked at Amanda. She held up both hands twice. Size class massive. Unknown origin. Unknown technology. "Understood, Station Alpha. Stand by for further instructions." Jake put down the communicator and looked at Amanda. "Start recording everything. Every scan, every reading. Someone's going to want to see all of this." Over the next few hours, the station's small crew worked without stopping. Amanda watched the ships get closer. They seemed to change shape as they moved, like they were alive and breathing. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Ryan Tucker from his station, "I'm picking up energy readings I've never seen before. These things are scanning us." "Scanning what?" "The station." "Everything. Our computers, our weapons, our communication systems. It's like they're trying to learn about our technology." Jake moved to Ryan's station. "Can you block them?" "I'm trying. But sir, they're adapting to every defense I put up. It's like playing chess with someone who can see your moves before you make them." Amanda looked up from her screen. "Jake, we need to go to full alert. These things aren't just passing through. They're studying us." Before Jake could respond, all the alarms on the station started screaming at once. Red lights flashed everywhere. "What's happening?" Jake shouted over the noise. "They're here," Ryan called back. "They just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're right on top of us." Jake ran to the main display. Through the station's windows, he could see them. They looked like huge sea creatures made of metal and flesh. Parts of them glowed with strange colors. Tentacle-like arms reached out from their bodies, ending in devices that pulsed with energy. "Why haven't they attacked?" Jake asked. Amanda was working fast at her station. "Because they don't need to. Look at this." She put a new display on the main screen. "They're not weapons, they're scouts. Advanced scouts for something bigger." "How do you know?" "Because they're sending a signal. Not to us. To something else. Something far away." Amanda's face went pale. "Jake, I think these are just the first ones. I think more are coming." The station shook as one of the alien ships moved closer. Through the window, they could see details now. The ship's surface rippled like skin. Eyes the size of buildings opened and closed along its sides. Mechanical parts moved in and out of organic tissue. "Station Alpha, this is Earth Command." "What is your status?" Jake grabbed the communicator. "We're okay for now. The ships are not attacking. They appear to be scanning and sending data to unknown recipients." "Understood. We're sending emergency response teams. Hold your position." Jake looked at his small crew, Amanda, Ryan, and 2 others. They all looked scared but were doing their jobs. "You heard Earth Command. We hold position and keep monitoring. Over." The next several hours, they watched the alien ships continue their work. The ships moved around the outer planets, scanning everything. Sometimes they would extend long tentacles into space, collecting samples of dust and gas. "They're mapping everything," Amanda said. "Every planet, every moon, every asteroid. It's like they're creating a complete picture of our solar system." "For what?" Ryan asked. Before anyone could answer, all the alien ships suddenly stopped moving. They turned, all at the same time, and pointed toward Earth. Their eyes, thousands of them on each ship, all focused on the small blue planet. Then they moved. Fast. Faster than anything that big should be able to move. Within minutes, they had formed a circle around Earth's solar system. "They're blocking us in," Jake realized. "No one can get in or out without going through them." "Station Alpha," Earth Command's voice crackled over the radio. "All ships report. Ready. We're going to meet our visitors." Jake watched as Earth's small fleet of warships appeared on the screen. 20 ships from Earth heading toward 20 alien giants. It looked like children going to fight monsters. "Sir," Amanda said quietly, "I've been analyzing their technology. It's not just advanced, it's alive. The ships, the weapons, everything. It all thinks and adapts." Jake felt cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying these aren't normal ships with normal weapons. These are living weapons, and I don't think Earth's Navy knows what they're about to face." On the screen, the first Earth ship fired a missile at the nearest alien vessel. The alien ship didn't dodge. It didn't put up shields. The tentacles on its surface moved, and suddenly it had the same kind of missile projecting from its body. It had copied the weapon just by seeing it. The alien ship fired back. The Earth ship's shields flared and died. The ship itself began to change, its hull rippling like the alien ship's. In seconds, the Earth vessel had become something else. Something hybrid between human and alien technology. "My God," Jake whispered. "They're not destroying our ships. They're changing them, making them like them." Amanda stared at the screen. "Jake, if they can do that to our ships, what happens when they get to Earth? What happens to us?" The alarms on the station grew louder as more Earth ships fell to the alien technology. Jake knew they needed help. But who could help them when the enemy could become anything it fought? "Keep recording everything," he told his crew. "Someone needs to know what happened here. Someone needs to know what's coming." Through the window, the hybrid ships began moving toward Earth. The invasion hadn't even begun, and Jake already knew they were losing. The throne room of Zenthara Prime was bigger than most cities. 47 different species stood in a circle around the center platform. Each represented billions of citizens across known space. They called themselves the Imperial Council, rulers of everything for 10,000 years. Admiral Zixthor stood before them, his 4 arms crossed. His scales changed color as he spoke, showing his frustration. "The humans have contacted us about unknown ships in their space. They claim these ships are a threat to all." Laughter filled the massive room. It came from the Grix representatives whose multiple mouths always found human problems amusing. "Humans," spat Counselor Vexra from the Drax Empire. "They have barely learned to travel between stars. What could they possibly understand about galactic threats?" The human ambassador, Peter Collins, stood in the center circle. His simple gray suit looked out of place among the elaborate robes and armor of the other species. He had been standing there for 3 hours waiting to speak. "If I may," Peter began, but was cut off by Counselor Thinark of the Veil Confederation. "You may not. Humans speak when spoken to." Peter bit back his anger. This was exactly why Earth had sent him. He was good at staying calm when others tried to make him angry. "We have evidence." "Evidence of what?" interrupted Zixthor. "Your panic? Your inability to handle your own problems?" "We have scans, video recordings, and data from our first contact," Peter continued. "These ships are unlike anything in our databases. They don't match any known technology in the galaxy." Counselor Brixmo, a being made mostly of crystals, chimed in. Perhaps they don't match human databases because human databases are incomplete. We have cataloged every spacefaring species for millennia. The council members murmured their agreement. They had explored the galaxy long before humans had figured out fire. They knew everything. These ships are organic, Peter pressed on. They're alive, and they copy our technology instantly. They've already turned some of our vessels into hybrid versions of themselves. More laughter, louder this time. Impossible, declared Admiral Zixthor. No biological creature can survive in the void of space without assistance, and no species can replicate advanced technology just by looking at it. Peter pulled out a small device. We brought proof. Video evidence of what happened to our ships. Keep your primitive recordings, said Counselor Vexra. We don't need to see amateur footage of human military exercises gone wrong. General Kevin Burke stepped forward from behind Peter. Unlike Peter's diplomatic approach, Kevin looked ready to fight. His military uniform was crisp, and his jaw was tight with anger. Listen to me, Kevin said, his voice carrying across the chamber despite its size. I've been in the human military for 20 years. I've seen combat. I know the difference between a training accident and an alien threat. You've seen combat? Zixthor's scales turned a mocking shade of purple. Against who? Yourselves? Humans fight among themselves because you have no real enemies. Kevin's hands clenched into fists. We're trying to help you. These ships could be heading toward the core systems, toward Xanthera Prime. Let them come, roared Counselor Brixmo. The Imperial fleet numbers over 100,000 vessels. Our technology is the most advanced in known space. Our warriors have conquered entire galaxies. Different galaxies, muttered Peter under his breath. What was that? Demanded Thin Arc. I said these ships come from different galaxies, from outside our local group. They've traveled distances that should take millions of years. They're using technology we don't understand. The council fell silent for a moment. Then Counselor Vexra spoke. Even if what you say is true, which we doubt, it's not our problem. Earth is on the edge of known space. You're a border world. You deal with border problems, but... Peter started. Enough. Zixthor interrupted. The Imperial Council has heard your report. We will send scouts to investigate these claims. If we find evidence of a real threat, we will act. Kevin stepped forward again. By then it might be too late. These ships adapt quickly. Every moment we waste discussing this gives them time to learn more about our technology. Our technology is beyond anything they could comprehend, Briximo stated with crystal certainty. We have shields that can stop supernova blasts, weapons that can destroy suns, ships that phase between dimensions. And they'll copy all of it, Peter said quietly. Just like they copied ours. The council members looked at each other. Some transmitted through neural links. Others communicated in ways humans couldn't detect. After several minutes, Zixthor spoke again. We will mobilize the First Fleet. Not because we believe human warnings, but to demonstrate Imperial might. These ships will learn what happens when they enter civilized space. How many ships in the First Fleet? Kevin asked. 15,000. Vessels, Zixthor answered proudly, including the Imperial Dreadnought Dominion, which alone could destroy human civilization. Peter felt sick. They didn't understand. They couldn't see the danger because their pride blinded them. We're willing to share all our data, Peter offered one last time. Our military has developed some countermeasures. Experimental, but they might help. Human countermeasures? Thin Arc laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You would teach the Imperial fleet how to fight? How amusing. General Burke stepped closer to Peter and whispered, We tried. Let's go. As the humans turned to leave, Zixthor called after them. Don't worry, primitives. The Galactic Empire will handle this threat. Return to your little planet and let the adults work. Peter looked back at the council one last time. In less than a month, he thought, some of these beings would be dead. Others would be changed into something else entirely. The mighty empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was about to learn a hard lesson. One more thing, Peter said, stopping at the chamber's entrance. When your scouts find these ships, tell them not to shoot first. Don't give the enemy samples of your weapons until you understand what they can do with them. Advice noted and ignored, replied Counselor Vexra. Now leave, the Empire has work to do. As Peter and Kevin walked through the massive corridors back to their small human transport, Kevin finally spoke. They're all going to die, aren't they? Peter nodded slowly. Most of them. And when they do, it'll be humanity's job to pick up the pieces. They reached their ship in silence. Behind them, the Galactic Empire began preparing for a war they couldn't possibly win. Above them, alien scouts had already positioned themselves around the capital system. The Empire's arrogance would be its downfall. Peter activated his ship's communication system. Earth Command, this is Ambassador Collins. The Empire dismissed our warnings. They're sending their first fleet to engage. Recommend we prepare for the worst-case scenario. The response was immediate. Understood, Ambassador. Operation Silent Hunter is now active. Good luck out there. As their ship left Zenthera Prime's atmosphere, Peter watched the beautiful capital world shrink behind them. Soon, it would be just another dead planet. Unless humans could do something that the mighty Empire could not. Peter closed his eyes and began planning for the impossible. The first Imperial scout ship encountered the Voidwalkers 3 light-years from the barrier planets. Captain Thrakma of the Imperial Navy had fought in 17 wars. He had seen every type of ship, weapon, and defensive system in the galaxy. When his sensors showed him the enemy approaching, he couldn't believe what he was looking at. Ship's brain. Analyze targets, he ordered. The scout's artificial intelligence ran through its massive database. Unknown configuration, the ship's voice replied. Organic and technological elements integrated. No match in Imperial records. Thrakma activated his weapon systems. Standard battle formation. Fire warning shots across their path. 3 energy. Blasts launched from his scout ship. The beams hit the first Voidwalker vessel and disappeared. Not deflected, not absorbed. They simply vanished. What just happened? His second officer asked. Before Thrakma could answer, tentacles emerged from the Voidwalker ship. They reached across the empty space toward his vessel. Energy crackled along their length, forming shapes that looked exactly like the energy weapons he had just fired. It copied our weapons, the communications officer said, his 4 eyes wide with shock. The Voidwalker fired back. 3 identical energy blasts hit Thrakma's ship. Shields held, but barely. Alarms screamed throughout the small vessel. Full power to shields, retreat to rally point. But even as Thrakma gave the order, he watched something terrible happen. The energy from the Voidwalker's attack remained on his shields. It spread like a virus, changing the shield's energy pattern. Within seconds, his shields were reconfiguring themselves to match Voidwalker technology. My ship is changing, Thrakma breathed. Commander Sarah Walsh watched everything from her hiding spot behind an asteroid. The human stealth frigate Silent. Runner had followed the Imperial scout at a safe distance. She had volunteered for this mission because someone needed to document what the Empire would face. Recording everything, her tactical officer Ben Parker confirmed. This is worse than we thought. Sarah nodded grimly. The Voidwalkers aren't just copying weapons. They're infecting the ships themselves. On her screen, she could see more. Imperial scouts arriving. 15 ships in standard attack formation. They opened fire on the Voidwalkers immediately. They're not listening to their own captain's report, Sarah realized. Standard Imperial protocol. Shoot first, ask questions. Never. The battle that followed wasn't really a battle. It was a conversion process. Every weapon the Imperial scouts used was copied, improved, and fired back. Every defensive system was analyzed and infected. One by one, Imperial ships began changing. Hulls shifted from standard metallic alloys to organic technological hybrids. Control systems rewrote themselves. Even the ship's artificial intelligence started speaking in new languages that mixed Imperial code with something else. Something alive. Silent. Runner, are you seeing this? Earth Command's voice crackled through the secure channel. Confirmed, Sarah replied. The Voidwalkers aren't destroying Imperial ships, they're stealing them, converting them. The ships are still operational. but now they're working for the enemy. Any sign of the Imperial crew? Sarah zoomed in on the nearest converted ship. Through the transparent sections that had formed on its new hull, she could see movement. Crew appears to be alive, but changed. Their movements are different, synchronized, like they're being controlled. Back on Earth, Dr. Daniel Hayes paced around his laboratory. The samples they had captured from the first encounter were underway, every microscope he could manage. The results were terrifying. "Dr. Torres, look at this," he called to Amanda, who had been transferred to the main science facility after Station Alpha's encounter. "What am I looking at?" Amanda asked, peering into the microscope. "Void Walker tissue sample. But watch what happens when I introduce human technology to it." Daniel pressed a button. A tiny probe touched the sample. Immediately, the tissue began changing. Parts of it became metallic. Other parts formed circuits. Within seconds, the probe itself started transforming. "It's learning," Amanda whispered. "Not just copying, actually learning and improving." "There's more," Daniel continued. "The tissue samples show signs of neural activity. Complex neural activity. These things think. Individual consciousness or hive mind? Both. Each ship appears to have individual agency, but they're connected to a larger network. When one learns something, they all learn it." Amanda felt sick. So when they fought the Imperial Scouts, every Voidwalker ship now knows everything those scouts knew. Imperial weapons, defensive systems, navigation data, military protocols. My God. The Empire gave them a complete education in galactic warfare in one battle. Daniel nodded. "And it gets worse. I think the Voidwalkers are also learning from biological targets. When they convert crews, they're not just controlling them. They're absorbing their knowledge." Meanwhile, in the far reaches of space, the main Imperial fleet approached the battle zone. 15,000 ships, the pride of the Galactic Empire. Admiral Zixthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, confident and ready. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "we're receiving distress signals from our scout teams. Put them through." Static filled the command chamber. Then a voice came through, but it was wrong. It sounded like Captain Thrakma, but with strange harmonics mixed in. "Admiral, the enemy. They change. We serve the greater purpose now." The transmission ended. "Communication error?" Zixthor asked. "No, sir. The signal is clear. It's coming from Scout 7's ship, but the ship's configuration has changed. Our sensors show organic modifications throughout the vessel." Zixthor's scales turned pale blue. "Show me visual confirmation." The main screen displayed the Scout ship. It still carried Imperial markings, but everything else was different. The hull pulsed like skin. Tentacles emerged from weapon ports, and the crew could be seen through transparent sections moving in perfect unison. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "the converted scout ships are powering weapons. Imperial weapons, but modified. They appear to be more powerful than our original designs." "All ships defensive formation," Zixthor ordered. "Prepare for—" But the converted ships didn't attack. Instead, they transmitted data. Streams of information flooded Imperial networks faster than anyone could block it. Technical specifications, weapon designs, shield modifications. All of it improved, all of it alien-influenced. "They're teaching us," the communications officer said in disbelief. "They want us to upgrade." Zixthor realized the horrible truth. They're not trying to destroy us, they're trying to improve us, convert us, make us like them. The main Voidwalker fleet appeared then. 20 massive bioships, now accompanied by dozens of converted Imperial vessels. They moved with purpose toward the main Imperial force. "All ships fire at will," Zixthor commanded. "Target the original ships, not our converted vessels." The Imperial fleet opened fire. Energy weapons, particle beams, quantum torpedoes, everything in their arsenal. The Voidwalkers absorbed it all, learned from it, and began converting the very energy attacks into new weapons. In his lab on Earth, Dr. Hayes watched the battle through quantum feed. "They're not just parasites," he said to Amanda. "They're Evolution accelerators. They see advanced civilizations and try to force them to the next level. By taking away their individuality, by creating a new form of consciousness. Individual and collective at once. Daniel paused. Unless we can find a way to disrupt their collective. The virus you mentioned? It's our only hope, but someone needs to get close enough to deploy it. Amanda looked at the screens showing the battle. Imperial ships were falling or converting one by one. The Galactic Empire, rulers for 10,000 years, was becoming something else entirely. Then we need to move fast, she said, before they learn enough to become unstoppable. As Earth prepared for the next phase of the war, the Empire's greatest military force was being transformed into the very thing it had come to destroy. The silent war had become an evolutionary conflict, and humanity found itself fighting not just for survival, but for the right to remain human. 3 weeks after the first major battle, the Galactic Empire no longer existed. Not destroyed, but changed. Converted planets sent messages in strange harmonies that mixed organic and digital speech. The capital world of Zenthera Prime had fallen, after a siege that lasted only 7 days. Captain Ryan Tucker led the evacuation mission that saved the last uninfected survivors. His ship, the modified destroyer Resilient, moved silently through what used to be Imperial space. Behind him were 6 ships carrying refugees from a dozen different species. Captain, his science officer, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, announced from her station, "I'm detecting an Imperial signature ahead. But it's strange." Ryan moved to her console. "How strange?" "It's Admiral Zixthor's flagship, the Dominion. But life? Signs are confused. Some are normal, others are connected. Like a network." Through the view screen, they could see the massive Imperial dreadnought. Parts of it looked normal. Other sections pulsed with organic patterns that moved like breathing. The ship's hull had developed transparent areas, like windows revealing the crew inside. "Open a channel," Ryan ordered. Static filled the bridge. Then a voice came through, Zixthor's voice, but wrong. But multiple voices speaking in perfect synchronization. "Human Captain, we remember you, we remember your warnings, we understand now. The Empire must evolve." "Admiral, are you still you? Is your crew safe?" "Safe. Connected. Complete. We are more than we were. Less than we could be. The collective teaches. The collective improves." Ryan felt cold. "What do you want, Admiral? What you wanted. Unity, understanding. But you don't see. You fear change. You cling to separation." Dr. Rodriguez whispered, "Captain, I'm reading his neural patterns. He's still partially himself, but his mind is linked to something massive. The entire crew is connected to what might be the Voidwalker collective consciousness." Ryan made his choice. All ships, evasive pattern Delta, were leaving. But as they turned to flee, Zixthor's voice continued. "The humans resist. Interesting. You create chaos where we bring order. Perhaps chaos has value too." The Dominion didn't pursue. It simply broadcast a stream of data to all the ships. Information about converted worlds, about the collective's purpose, about evolution through unity. "Block that transmission," Ryan ordered. "Trying, but parts of it are getting through. Captain, this is incredible. They're showing us what they've done. Worlds where species that were enemies for millennia now work together. Where diseases have been eliminated. Where no one fights anymore because everyone is connected." "Everyone is controlled, you mean?" "No, sir, that's the thing. They still have individual thoughts, but they're part of something larger. Like cells in a body." Back on Earth, the remaining human and alien leadership gathered in the Emergency Command Center. President Martin Webb of United Earth presided, over a council that now included survivors from dozens of species. Former Imperial Admiral Kreshmar stood before them. His people, the Drix, had managed to evacuate 3 of their core worlds before conversion. Now he worked with humans to plan resistance. "The situation is worse than you warned, Ambassador Collins," Kreshmar admitted. "We didn't listen. Now, the collective controls 70% of known space." Peter Collins nodded, too tired to feel vindicated. "What about the virus Dr. Hayes developed?" General Kevin Burke stepped forward. We've completed initial tests. The virus disrupts the connection between individual and collective consciousness. In small doses, it can sever the link completely. And in large doses? Asked Kreshmar. We don't know. The virus affects organic material, both Voidwalker and standard biology. Too much could kill instead of cure. President Webb leaned forward. What's our best option? Dr. Daniel Hayes approached the holographic display. The collective has one weakness we've discovered. They require anchor points in our dimension. Each main Voidwalker vessel acts as an anchor for hundreds of converted ships. Destroy the anchor, and the converted ships become confused, disconnected. How do we get close enough? Burke asked. Commander Sarah Walsh entered the room. Guerrilla tactics. We don't fight them directly. We use smaller ships, stealth technology, hit-and-run attacks. We target the anchors, not the fleets. President Webb nodded slowly. You're talking about a resistance movement. The Empire tried conventional warfare and fell. We need unconventional approaches. I volunteer to lead the first mission, Lieutenant Sarah Blake said from near the wall. She was young but had lost her entire family when Earth's outer colonies fell. It's a suicide mission, Burke stated bluntly. Even with the virus, getting close to an anchor ship means facing thousands of converted vessels. Then we make it, Count Sarah Blake replied. I've been studying the collective's patterns. They don't expect sacrifice, they don't understand the concept. To them, preservation of self is absolute. Individual sacrifice for group survival is alien to them. Peter Collins looked at the young lieutenant. That might be our advantage, our willingness to die for something larger than ourselves. Ironic, Kreshmar observed. They seek unity through forced connection. Humans achieve unity through individual choice. Over the following weeks, the resistance organized. Small cells of humans and allied species conducted raids across the shrinking free space. The collective adapted quickly to each tactic, but there were too many small groups for them to track effectively. Commander Ryan Tucker led one successful mission after another. His ship, the Resilient, became a symbol of hope. His crew learned to think like guerrilla fighters, striking fast and disappearing, before the collective could respond. Remember, Ryan told his crew before each mission, we're not trying to win big battles, we're buying time. Every day we delay total conversion is another day the scientists work on better solutions. But time was running out. The collective had learned from every encounter. Their conversion process was becoming faster. Their anchor ships were developing better defenses. During one mission, Ryan's team discovered something terrifying. They intercepted communications from a recently converted world. Children born after conversion were different. They were born already connected to the collective. The virus had no effect on them. They're not just converting existing life, Dr. Rodriguez realized. They're creating a new form of humanity, a new form of every species. Then we need to act faster, Ryan decided. It's time for the final phase. Lieutenant Sarah Blake prepared for her mission. A small, fast ship, loaded with a concentrated dose of the virus and a makeshift nuclear device. Her target was the Central Voidwalker command vessel, believed to be the primary anchor for the entire Western galaxy. General Burke tried one last time to stop her. We can find another way. There is no other way, Sarah replied. Someone has to do it. If my mission succeeds, every ship they've converted in this region will disconnect. It might give you the opening you need. President Webb gave the final authorization. Make it count, Lieutenant. As Sarah Blake launched her mission, the resistance forces prepared for what could be their last coordinated attack. They had learned that individual ships could reconnect to new anchors within hours of losing their primary link. The window of confusion would be small. All units, Commander Tucker broadcast. Operation Chaos Field is a go. Hit every disconnected target you can find. Make noise. Create confusion. Show them what human warfare really looks like. In the depths of space, Sarah Blake's ship approached the massive command vessel. It was larger than anything she had imagined. Biological and technological systems pulsed in complex patterns. She could feel its attention focus on her tiny craft. Unknown vessel, came the collective's voice in her mind. Your sacrifice is unnecessary. Join willingly. Become complete. But Sarah had trained for this. Human meditation techniques helped her maintain her individual consciousness. Thanks, but no thanks. I've got a job to do. As she initiated the final sequence, she transmitted one last message to the human forces. We were never silent monsters. We were the noise that woke the galaxy. Remember us and stay loud. The explosion was visible across multiple systems. For a brief moment, the collective experienced something entirely new. The death of a central node. Thousands of ships suddenly found themselves alone, their connections severed. The resistance struck immediately, destroying or containing disconnected vessels before they could reunite with other anchors. It was humanity's first major victory, not through superior technology or numbers, but through an understanding of warfare that the collective couldn't comprehend, the power of individual sacrifice for collective survival. But the war was far from over. The collective had learned something new about humans, something that would change the nature of the conflict entirely. The explosion of the central anchor changed everything. In one moment, the collective lost control of thousands of ships, but more importantly, they experienced something they had never known: loss. Commander Kate Williams had spent 6 months planning this operation. After Sarah Blake's sacrifice, humanity had 6 precious hours before the collective could reorganize its network. 6 hours to change the course of the war. All stealth teams, target confirmation, Kate spoke into her headset. Hit the secondary anchors simultaneously. This is our chance. Across multiple star systems, small human strike forces moved into position. Each team carried modified versions of Dr. Hayes's virus, now weaponized and concentrated. Each pilot knew they probably wouldn't return. On the bridge of the Resilient, Captain Ryan Tucker watched as his tactical display filled with green lights. Every team was in position. "Ryan," came the voice of President Webb through secure channels. "The collective is trying to communicate. They want to negotiate." Since when do they negotiate? Since they learned what individual sacrifice means. They're offering to return all converted beings to their original state in exchange for joining them willingly. Ryan laughed bitterly. "They don't get it, that's not how we work." At the secret research facility on Jupiter's moon Europa, Dr. Michael Foster made the breakthrough they had been waiting for. His team had captured and studied fragments from the destroyed anchor ship. "Dr. Torres, look at this," he called to Amanda. "The anchor isn't just a technological device. It's a living consciousness that bridges dimensions." "What does that mean?" "It means when Sarah destroyed that anchor, she didn't just sever connections. She killed something alive, something the collective valued." "Are you saying they can feel grief?" "Not grief exactly. They can feel loss, and that's making them desperate." Across the galaxy, the coordinated strikes began. Human ships emerged from hiding, launched their viral payloads at secondary anchors, and disappeared again. Some succeeded. Others were caught and converted before they could complete their missions. Commander Williams led her team against a massive anchor vessel in the Titan Nebula. As they approached, her pilot, Lieutenant Ben Martinez, reported something strange. "Commander, the anchor ship isn't firing at us, it's transmitting." "Block all communications," Kate ordered. "No, ma'am. These aren't conversion signals, they're images, memories." Against her better judgment, Kate allowed a filtered stream through. The images showed converted worlds, but differently than before. She saw families reunited across species barriers. She saw former enemies working together on projects that benefited everyone. She saw a vision of peace that spanned the galaxy. "They're showing us what they think paradise looks like," Kate realized. "But it's still paradise built on control." "Commander," Ben said quietly, "they're asking why we prefer conflict over unity, why we choose separation over connection." Kate thought of Sarah Blake, of the thousands who had died, of the billions who had chosen death over conversion. "Because it's our choice to make," she said. "Tell them that." The virus struck the anchor ship. Instead of exploding, it began to change. The biological components separated from the technological ones. converted ships throughout the region suddenly found their crews restored to individual consciousness, but without the anchor connection, these ships were stranded. Their hybrid systems were too complex for organic crews to operate alone. Commander Williams came a transmission from one of the freed ships. "This is Captain Throckma of the Imperial Navy. I'm myself again. But my ship is dying. All of our ships are failing." Kate realized the terrible truth. The collective's technology and biology were so intertwined that removing one often destroyed the other. Freeing people from control meant destroying the very ships that kept them alive in space. "All crews, this is Commander Williams. Prepare for emergency evacuation procedures. Human rescue ships are standing by." But there weren't enough rescue ships. Not nearly enough. Across multiple systems, freed crews faced the same choice: die as individuals or reconnect to survive. Back on Earth, Dr. Foster watched the data streams with horror. The virus works too well. It's forcing people to choose between individual freedom and survival. General Burke slammed his fist on the table. "We're offering them the same choice the collective did, just in reverse." "No," President Webb said firmly. "We're offering them a choice, period. The collective never gave them one." As more anchor ships fell, the pattern repeated. Ships were freed but too damaged to sustain life support. Crews had minutes to evacuate or reconnect. Many chose reconnection, but not to the collective anymore. They were creating smaller, voluntary networks, communities based on choice rather than force. The main collective fleet eventually pulled back to the edges of known space. Their attempt at forced unity had taught them something unexpected. Resistance wasn't just about survival. It was about identity. Commander Kate Williams became the first leader of the new Galactic Council. Unlike the old Empire, this council had no supreme authority. Each species, each world, each ship could choose its level of connection to others. The irony, Kate reflected in her final mission report, is that the collective wanted unity and got diversity. The Empire wanted control and got independence, and humanity, we wanted to survive, and we ended up saving everyone else's right to choose. 5 years later, Ambassador Jennifer Lee stood before the new Galactic Council. The member species now included both organic and partially collective worlds. Some former collective ships had chosen to maintain their hybrid technology, but without forced connection. "The greatest lesson," Jennifer concluded her speech, "is that diversity of thought creates stronger unity than uniformity ever could." As the council session ended, Dr. Torres received a priority signal at her monitoring station. She immediately contacted Captain Morrison, now head of early warning systems. "Jake, we've got new signatures. Different from the Voidwalkers, but showing similar impossible technology characteristics." "Another collective intelligence?" Jake asked, starting the familiar protocols. "Unknown, but they're not trying to hide. And Jake, they're transmitting a message. Just one word, repeated in every language we know." "What's the word?" "Teacher." Jake looked at the displays showing Earth's greatly expanded fleet. Half the ships showed hybrid technology, freely adopted by crews who chose enhancement over pure humanity. The diversity included former collective vessels, Imperial survivors, and entirely new designs. "Well," Jake said with a grim smile, "I guess we taught the last ones something after all. Time to see what these new visitors want to learn." Dr. Torres began her scans, knowing that humanity had changed as much as they had changed the galaxy. They were no longer the silent monsters emerging from a backwater world. They were the noise that kept the cosmos awake, the chaos that prevented stagnation, the choice that preserved identity. Above Earth, the fleet prepared for contact. Human and alien crews worked side by side, using technology that blended organic and inorganic, individual and collective, ancient and new. They had learned that strength came not from uniformity or isolation, but from the freedom to choose any path between. The silent monsters had become the galaxy's greatest teachers. Adaptation was not about becoming one thing, but about preserving the right to become anything. As the new signals approached, Admiral Kate Williams gave the order that would define humanity's new role in the galaxy. "All ships, full active scans. But keep weapons powered down. Let's see what they want to teach us and what we can teach them in return. The universe was wide, dangerous, and full of mysteries, but for the first time in galactic history, no single philosophy dominated it. Earth's children had made sure of that. And in doing so, they had saved not just humanity, but the very concept of choice itself. The silent monsters had learned to sing, and their song was freedom.